to
Hi, this is Sherry Richards.
And this is Karen Kalmasan.
And welcome to Inspired Good Fat Life, where we explore what it takes to live a modern, healthy life and so much more. Hey, Karen, you there?
Hey, I am. Thanks for meeting you here.
Yeah, right. So happy Monday.
Yes, you too.
So and welcome to our listeners. We're so excited to be here. I was just telling Karen, I had those nights. You remember when you're in school, or I had an important interview, and you just kept waking up thinking that you had those dreams that you missed the time or the appointment or slept through, and that was my night last night.
Right? Or you have the dream where you go to school and you're not wearing pants, but you aren't wearing pants because we're on Zoom, right?
Well, now let's not get too personal, right? So in my meditation this morning, it was so cool. It was the theme was, I embrace the newness of this day. And
I like that.
It just feels like with the air and the sun and the whole thing, it just feels like an amazing, one of those great days to be alive, right?
It sure does.
So I was and part of the meditation, it was talking about how it's easy for us to say all of the things that are going wrong. This didn't happen, that didn't happen. Our Zoom launch or our podcast launch was late with technical, but we often don't go to the things that are working right. So I just wanted to start today with, I'm going to give you 5 things that are working right, that bring me joy. And I'd love to hear 5 from you.
Sounds good. How about you say one, I say one, let's back and forth it a bit. Okay.
Sounds perfect.
Okay.
So my cat's purring.
We have a tent set up in our living room. It's so much fun.
Awesome. That smell of fresh brewed coffee.
Rainbows over my house.
The birds are chasing each other all over the yard and just chirping their little heads off.
That's awesome. Good food, good conversation.
And so good food. I got some new spices that I'm excited to try some recipes today.
That's awesome. My daughter's really been baking and trying new recipes, and it's delightful to see her growing and baking things, and we get to be the taste testers. So
there you go. There you go. Yeah, I love that. And I love it when the wind is blowing and that rustles the leaves in the trees, so the greens change. So it's like this constant, almost a kaleidoscope kind of a feel in motion. It's kind of Mary Poppins to me.
Yeah, and it's I've also loved the weather this week. We've kind of had like fall and summer and spring all in the same week. So reminds you how versatile Michigan is and can really enjoy every day.
It is. You are absolutely right. So let's talk about just a quick update on what we're going to be doing today. So we're going to have our guest Jim Gilligan from Snedecor's Cleaners. He's going to be talking to us about fast fashion. Try saying that fast, and why we should care about that. I think it's a really important topic. It just blew my mind when I started learning about that. And then we're going to have a couple minutes talking about good fat life money. And then you'll close with some topics, some thoughts on empathy and compassion that were shared to us by Dr. Nandi.
I'm looking forward to that.
That sound good?
Yeah, sounds great. Let's go. Okay. Let's do it.
So, but before we get into the fast fashion, I just wanted to bring up something. I mean, I'm first to admit I don't watch the news much. I just find that it just doesn't serve my purposes. But I also pay attention to what's going on. I don't want to stick my head in the sand. And with all the riots and things that are going on, I wanted to just share something that's helping me. We've had conversations around just not understanding what can we do to help the situation, make the situation better, because it really is disturbing. But I get this, I belong to a group called Commune, and they have just fascinating meditations and classes and workshops. And they have a newsletter. It's called Deep Thinking, Quiet Reflections, and Unhurried Self-Care. And yesterday, they sent out, Jeff, the owner, sent out a wonderful reflection in his newsletter. And it just was, I was asking to seek first to understand, because I don't understand a lot what's going on. And this newsletter provided some great insights and a lot of resources to help for me to grow my own understanding. So I just wanted to throw that out. We aren't political. We don't have deep opinions about certain things. But if anybody's interested, they could send me an email, Sherry@GoodFatLife. That's SHERRI @GoodFatLife, and I would be happy to forward to them. So.
And just to speak to that a little bit, I wonder if I could just read a little poem that I found that I thought might be helpful just during this time. Like you said, we're not political, but we just want to share a little peace and compassion and joy at this time. And so I thought this might just be helpful.
Sure.
So it goes like this, and it's an unknown poem. So live in love, not hate. Live in hope, not anger. Live in truth, not rumor. Live in kindness, not rudeness. Live in peace, not frustration. Live in joy, no doubt. Live in the moment, not in fear. Live in love.
That's beautiful, Karen. Thank you so much for sharing. And it's relevant, right?
Exactly.
So thank you. Well, so that said, I would like to take a moment and introduce our featured guest. His name is Jim Gilligan. And at his core, he's an environmental evangelist. And that is so true about him. He owns Snedeker's Green Earth Cleaners in Brighton and Howell, Michigan. And they use environmentally safe methods to keep clothes clean and looking good. And he's Michigan's first certified acro yoga instructor. And Jim he's a real outdoor guy, and he's got some amazing stories of some things that he's done over the years as an environmentalist. And he also is a avid bicycle tourist, mountain biker, cross-country and telemark skier, kayaker, stand-up paddler, and motorcyclist. And he's a father and stepfather to 5, and he lives here in Livingston County. And I'm really proud to call Jim one of my friends. And he's so inspiring with the work he does. And today he had to pull over while driving his route because the coronavirus has has made him shut his stores, and he's now delivering everybody's cleaning. So Jim, with that said, welcome.
Hi, Jim.
Great to see you. Hi, Karen.
Hi. So, I'm lucky enough to see Jim on Thursdays and Mondays when he drops dry cleaning off at my house. So it's nice to see you again, Jim.
Oh, good to see you too. Yeah.
So Jim, just take a minute and just tell us how the virus has impacted your Snedeker's, the cleaners.
Sure. Well, obviously, first off, our volume is way down because folks are not dressing up for their Zoom meetings as they should. You guys did great.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
At least no pant dry cleaning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it really made me rethink what's the best way to serve our customers. And through a great deal of deliberation and sort of learning a lot of new things, I decided it just makes sense to be a delivery company. I mean, it worked for Jeff Bezos, right? So,
yeah.
So we have converted several hundred customers already, from store customers to delivery customers. Everyone's raving about it. When I closed my 2 stores in March, the Brighton store on 17th and the Howell store, or Brighton store, on the 23rd, I didn't realize I would never be reopening either of these stores. The Howell store has been operating for 104 years, the Brighton store for 50 years. But I'm never reopening them, and I'm happy. This feels like a great shift in energy. It just makes sense. The writing's been on the wall for, I think, a few years as far as everyone's getting everything delivered these days. And so it's the time is right. Oh, the time is right to become a delivery company. I'm very optimistic about the future.
Sorry. sorry. I'm going to go mute for just a second.
Okay.
Jim, go ahead.
Okay.
So Jim, can you tell me how you actually get to talk with your customers? Do you have like a phone-in center, or how do you actually get to interact with customers now that you're just delivery? I mean, I know I see you sometimes at my door, which is wonderful.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. Well, as you know, Karen, our point of sale delivery system has really nice communication through email or text messaging. So in other words, if you sent an email, a text and said, hey, on this next order, make sure you look for the spot on this one item, or the zipper needs to be repaired. That comes right into the central system, and we take care of it from there. And we enjoy communicating that way through the customers. I mean, we love the face-to-face, and ask any customers who know me, coming in and seeing me at a front counter is a good experience, and we're just changing that experience and making it contact free. So I have a new phone system. So all the landlines, those traditional landlines, are going into a central phone system. Right now, my best customer concierge is actually answering those calls, and then she's handling all the backside work in our point of sale system.
That's awesome. I know.
Go ahead. No, so you've done a great job, Jim, of a great example of how you've taken the situation that we're in, right, the circumstance, and run with it.
Right. I mean, there's, I'm a pretty positive person, and we were thrown a huge change a few months ago, and I started thinking, well, here's a huge change. Well, maybe it's just time to change, and so I decided to create a great change during this time of great change. And so I'm very positive about just moving forward and with new energy and creating a new reality.
And that's what makes you so inspiring. I just love talking to you and seeing what you're doing. And so tell us about fast fashion, and why is this something that we need to know about?
Well, we need to know about it because it's negatively affecting the environment, our Earth. And unbeknownst to most people, it's one of the biggest contributors to pollution in the world. It's second or third only to like the oil industry. And we don't even think about it. We go to Target, we buy something that looks kind of neat, and then we wear it, or maybe not. And eventually, probably pretty soon, winds up in a landfill. And if you look at where these clothes are coming from, you can buy it without a second thought, on a whim, because it's so cheap. Well, it's so cheap because it's being produced primarily by women, primarily that are obviously, well, they're not treated well, but the conditions, they have to work. And so they're being exploited, working under really poor conditions that none of us would want to be working under, nor anyone we know or love we'd want working under. But we don't think about that when we see that sale tag on that garment. So they're also being produced in countries that don't have strict environmental laws, or so these countries are specifically where these factories are located because they can pollute, they can dump waste into streams and so on. And again, because it's underprivileged society, it's easy to do that. We're not going to, here in Brighton, we're not going to let a company dump stuff, so and then invariably these wind up in the landfill, usually sooner than later, a lot of times without even ever being worn. And the last thing I saw was about 80 pounds. The average American sends 80 pounds of clothing waste to a landfill every year, clothing and shoes.
Wow.
Yep.
That's a lot.
So I'm a fan of nice clothes. Now, if you look below my logo wear here, I've got a wool, this is an icebreaker t-shirt for years, wears and wears and wears. I've got my Prana pants on. Prana's a great company. They're cradle to cradle, if I remember correctly. I do know that they use recycled garments, and if I remember correctly, when I've worn this garment out, I can send it to them, and then they'll recycle it into new garments. And just think about that one sweater you go to, or that one jacket, your lucky, whatever. We've taken meaning away from our garments, and we've made them just this commodity where, I've got, it's the joke, it's like, I need to build a new closet because I ran out of space. Where, it wasn't too long ago we had, maybe a dozen or maybe two, really nice pieces, and we took care of them, and they lasted for years.
Is there certain fabrics, Jim, that you could recommend for people to stay away from or to possibly purchase that are less that you see in fast fashion and more that you see in quality items?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, my favorite is wool, and I wear wool year round. I wore wool t-shirts motorcycling through Death Valley in 105 degrees and been cool. Wool obviously is made from sheep, and there's so many good regenerative ranching operations out there that actually take care of the earth, unlike a lot of the other animal intensive operations that aren't doing it the way they should or could be. Grown fibers, especially regenerative. Cotton's good, but you got to go with organic, because cotton fields are one of the most heavily and chemically intensive areas there are. Bamboo is pretty cool. Your cellulose things, rayon, ramie, those types of things made from wood fibers. And then recycled garments. These Prana, I love these Prana pants. They're stretchy, they're nylon, but they're made from recycled pop bottles and things like that. So, or at least the polyester content is. The thing we want to keep away from, on another note, though, is with the synthetic fibers, the issue with microfibers, and that's teeny tiny pieces of plastic getting sort of shedding off the clothes and getting into our watershed, and eventually those pieces of plastic getting into our food shed. In other words, we're washing our clothes, the plastic fibers are going into the streams, they're being eaten by fish, we eat the fish, we now have plastic in our bodies.
That was, when I saw that, it was mind-boggling. Between that and the landfill, it's mind-boggling how big of a deal that is. Mm-hmm. Just because we don't see it in front of our faces every day, it's a huge thing. And I think I read that in your article that 85% of those 80 pounds of clothes that go to landfill every year don't disintegrate. So they just stay there. Mm-hmm. And they're just continuing to grow in bigger, huge piles.
That's right. I mean, synthetics don't disintegrate. They're plastic, where this wool t-shirt would, you could compost it.
Great. So it was mind-boggling and so eye-opening when I first heard about this. And I'm really grateful to you for bringing that to our attention. Karen, did you have a couple more questions?
I do. One, could you speak to a little bit about the chemicals that you use to clean your clothing and how they may be different from non-environmentally safe dry cleaners?
Sure, Karen. Well, we're a green earth cleaner, so we don't use any petrochemicals to clean our customers' clothes. All the clothes on this rack behind me that I'll be delivering today, we're all cleaned using pure liquid silicone. And silicone is made from sand. As we know, sand is silicon dioxide, and they actually break that bond and create pure liquid silicone, which looks like water. It's been used by humans for decades in products like cosmetics, deodorants, etc. And so we don't generate any VOCs or groundwater contaminants. Our solution that we use is non-toxic. And then we also have a dedicated wet cleaning machine. So in dry cleaning, typically you have two types of stains. You have dry side and wet side. A dry side stain, you don't want to use water on it. A wet side stain really comes out better if you do use water on it. So our wet cleaning machine uses water, but it mixes in a soap made out of organic camellia flowers. And it's super gentle. We've done antique wedding gowns. We've done wool, Italian suits, silks. They come out phenomenal. And so both of these wet cleaning and dry cleaning processes we use are completely non-toxic.
And I do love the fact that I've noticed in the past with other dry cleaners, when you take the plastic off your clothes, you can sort of smell the chemicals. There's no trace of any sort of chemical smell with your clothes. So that's been lovely. And then I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about sort of the rental clothing business right now, where, I don't know, they say Access is a new ownership where you pick certain clothes and they get sent to your house and they go and they get dry cleaned and they go on to the next person. Are you familiar with those kind of companies, and would you recommend that?
Well, before I answer that, let me just go back to taking the plastic off your cleaning and smelling the dry solvent. Well, as we now know, that smell that you're smelling from the other dry cleaners, those are perk fumes, and those are dangerous. Those are regulated. The Michigan Eagle, they have guidelines as to how much of that you can smell, and it's not very much. It's a tiny amount. So when you smell that smell, it's just not a funny smell. It's not good for you. To the new rental, this whole new rental model on clothing, it's definitely a disruptor. I don't know if or how much it's affected my business at this point, but I think it will. One thing is that they don't have is, if you've ever ordered something, so you purchased something online, it came to you, oh, here's my beautiful dress. Oh, wait, it's all wrinkled because it was in this tiny package. We're getting more and more customers who are buying garments and then we're pressing them for them, so they have that nice new appearance. And I feel like the rental companies are probably going to run into the same thing. How do you ship, Armani, whatever, or, some of these, right now it's more couture kind of things that people are renting, but how does it look good when you take it out of the package without that finishing that we can provide? So I see it as another opportunity.
And also, I believe that Rent the Runway is one of the biggest dry cleaners in the entire world. Is it not?
I believe so, and I believe they are a Green Earth cleaner, so that makes me happy. I'm pretty sure that they have affiliated with Green Earth Cleaning, which is we're also a Green Earth cleaner. So as long as they're doing it in an environmental friendly way, I'm down with it.
Well, at the same time, I did exactly what you mentioned. I have received items like that through rental companies and then sent them on to you guys to clean. So that is sort of an issue.
Yeah. So there are so many things that we could talk about, and I think that it would be great to let Jim get back on the road, making his deliveries, and bring you back, Jim, to take some deeper dives into some of these topics, because the clothing, I mean, I know since I've been home, my closets are calling to me, and they need attention, and I don't want to have all that. It takes a lot of energy to manage all that stuff.
Right. Well, we'll put your clothing care on autopilot.
There you go. I know you do. You're great at it. So any other questions for Jim?
Nope. I'll just see you later, Jim. I'm on your route today, so it was nice talking to you.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay. So, so Karen, let's talk. That was great. That was great. It's fascinating. Like I said, I had no idea that the clothes that we choose to wear are having such a huge impact. And one of the things that Jim didn't mention is he alluded to that the cotton, the fabrics that are being used to make these clothes are taking a huge toll on our planet in the use of water and chemicals, pesticides and chemicals to grow the fibers. So, I have a friend who's now, she's become a minimalist and has 10 pieces of clothing.
Wow.
So when one wears out, she buys one, but she buys the best quality she can find. So
the thing
I'm not
that
there
stood
yet.
up, right? No, I get that too. I'm kind of a closed horse. The thing that I liked that he said that it really made me think, and I'm going to pass this on and just reiterate it, that if we wouldn't want our family or our loved ones or our mother or daughter working in these kinds of places that make these kind of clothing, these garments, we probably should rethink buying them. And so I guess the point is just to be more thoughtful with our purchases.
Right. And I think that's just our whole point with this, is to just raise awareness,
Exactly.
just know. So, okay. So that said, we're going to now switch to a little quick talk on good fat money. So,
all right.
Okay, you ready?
Yes.
So, people are like, what does money have to do with living a good fat life? Well, that's a great question, and I ask myself this question often. But really, it's about money is freedom. It's about having enough money to do what we want to do gives us a freedom so that we can make the choices to live and to show up how we choose to live. So I'm not going to go deeply in depth to it this time. There's articles in the magazine, and you can go to goodfatlife.com and get those articles. But three of the things, we have so much shame and blame and confusion and I don't know, just guilt around negative feelings around money. And my feeling is money needs to be a positive thing, right? It's an energy. We should feel good about it. And when we feel good, we bring in good things. So there's kind of like three things when it comes to money to consider. And the first thing is your money story and beliefs around money, right? I mean, we all have those. And so there's the classic of, if you think people with money are bad people, then how do you set yourself up to attract money to you, right? It's that putting your foot on the gas. Yeah, putting your foot on the gas and trying to go and the brake at the same time. And the second thing is how you manage your money day to day. And I know for a lot of people right now with the situation with jobs and changes, I mean, everybody's been impacted on some level with how their income's flowing. And like just to Jim's story, but Jim's taken a very proactive approach. I'm gonna meet this head on and figure this out. And so that's a really big thing. And so people, I notice that people will tend to not want to, just want to know. I just don't want to know because I don't like the story it's telling me. And I'm just asking, it's like saying, is it raining today or not raining today? And if we can just have those, we're the one who gives that fact emotion, right?
Right. We attach the story to it, right?
To it. And then
the
money story, right? And then the third thing is, where do you want to go? I mean, even I'd say especially now, when we're living in kind of this limbo, there's no reason to still not keep out ahead of us where it is that we want to go, what financial freedom looks like to us. And it's going to be different for everybody. But I'd say, use this time to just like own it, step into it and say, this is what I want to create for myself. And then, like I said, if you go to goodfatlife.com and find the money stories, there's tools to help you do that. So, use this time. And I will say, as a person that's been in the finance world for many years, and I love history. I have a second degree in history. Is that it's the times that are rough when people have the opportunities to really change their money story. There's,
and also your, what's important, right? And as far as financially and tangibly and materialistically, right? So
right. So it's a good, it's a good time for us to kind of reflect and review all that, and then get those numbers on paper. I mean, don't be afraid of your numbers. They're just helping you tell a story.
Right. It's a lot of times the fear is just in the unknown, right? And the more we know, the less fear we have. Right.
Exactly. And the way our mind is, it's called a reticular activator. It's a hard one to say, but if you have a vision out there, a goal out there, or you have a challenge out there that needs to be addressed, and it could be, how am I going to cover my expenses this month, or what's going to happen when we put that out and write it down, our brain is designed to go solve that problem.
Exactly.
Right.
It's like a money manifestation, right? In a way.
There you go. And so things will come in that you'll see that article, you'll see that somebody will call you, you'll see that opportunity. I got an email this morning that the state is looking to hire tons of people to help with the ramifications of COVID on businesses. And there's opportunities everywhere if we can just be open to them. So, and not attached to it being just the way that it was.
And also to keep in mind, right, your money story can change at any time, right? And money is fluid, and you can be in a completely different place in 6 months than you are today. Just taking one step forward, right?
Absolutely. But getting that, getting it, how you manage things day to day, there's tools, and it's not like magic or rocket science. There's tools to help support this. And so anybody that wants something different can have it. You can have financial freedom for whatever that looks like to you, if that's something that you are willing to step into and make some changes.
And make your money nice and good and fat, right?
Yes, there you go. Good fat life, right?
Yeah,
right.
Good fat money.
So, Karen, you want to finish up here with some thoughts on empathy and compassion?
Yeah, so I thought it would be important today, just especially like you said, we're not a political show by any means, but just to share some thoughts on compassion and empathy, and really how it does affect you personally and your health and your wellness and the people around you. And, with the Good Fat Life magazine, I've been lucky enough to have Dr. Nandi, who's a general gastroenterologist from Troy Beaumont, speak on health and compassion. And you can also go to askdrnandi.com to find out this information. But basically, he talks about what is compassion and empathy, and what does it involve. And compassion and empathy basically is putting yourself in someone else's shoes and giving yourself and others forgiveness, and having the willingness to listen. Also, you have to just change your shift to see where people are. And compassion and empathy can affect your health in many good ways. There's many studies that Dr. Nandi mentioned in the article, and I'm sure on his website as well, that it's shown to help with diabetes, gastro problems. It lowers your blood pressure the more compassion and empathy you have. There's actually been studies that show people with more compassion and empathy are more attractive to other people. And to show up in your life, to be compassionate, you need to listen and be willing to learn, model the behavior, and just be present with people, and try to see their side of things. And also, again, forgiveness, and in doing the same for yourself, right? So you first have to show compassion and empathy for yourself, and then you can to others, right? So there's so many, when you have compassion, you can be a better parent, better friend, better spouse, better coworker. And you don't ever hear anybody go, gosh, she just has too much compassion and empathy, right? Like we're always right. Trying to strive for more, especially now. It's really important to try to come from a space where you can come from, how can I be more compassionate and empathetic to people? So it's just, and it can be powerful and beautiful when you link up your physical and your mental state and show that compassion and empathy. And it shows in your health and your wellness and to the community and to others. And Sherry, you're really fantastic in showing compassion and empathy. Can you give me an example of how you try to show up with that every day?
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. When we were doing the issue for compassion, I read some wonderful books that are also in the magazine about it. And because I felt like there's been so many times in my life where something has happened, somebody has gotten ill or died or just had something happen, and I didn't know what to do. And so rather than do something, I did nothing, right? I just, because I didn't want to say the wrong thing, or I didn't want to do the wrong thing. And so I just did nothing. And what I learned while reading from the experts that study a lot of this is it doesn't matter. It says just show up, right? And so if something happened to you, I could just say, Karen, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I just want you to know I feel for you and I'm here, and how can I support you? And that's the one thing I guess I really learned about compassion is that lots of times we don't know what to say, and there's nothing we can say or do, right? Just knowing that we even care is what can make a big difference.
And also, I have found in my life that you have to hold space and respect and just let the people know that need compassion and empathy. If they're not, they say, no, I don't need anything or want anything, just hold that for them too, and just hold the space and say, okay, but I just want to let you know, I'll give you that space, but I'm still here for you. So just like you said, just knowing you're there, knowing you're going to be there. And also, again, for yourself, I know in the past, maybe I struggled with compassion for others, and I realized it was because I also had to be compassionate and empathetic to myself. So in the morning, I try to clear my mind and, be my best friend and forgive myself and move on and show myself that compassion and empathy as well, especially during this time with all the anxiety and all the things going on. It's important for us to really be centered in our own compassion and empathy.
Well, and then at the end of the day, everything starts with us, right? I can't control you, but I can control myself. And so if I can be compassionate with myself, it's a great place to start. So, yeah. So thanks for that, Karen. That was a really, really valuable, a reminder and insights. I really appreciate that. So I guess we're good for today. Anything else you want to share before we sign off?
I think that's good. Thank you. Thank you guys for joining us today again. And Sherry, thank you. And Jim, that was great.
Great.
I look forward to next week.
Right. And we are so open to hearing what anybody would like to talk about because Good Fat Life is a lifestyle and it encompasses all kinds of things. And, travel and food and entertainment and whatever you want to talk about, we would love to have the conversation. So take care until next week.
Take care, guys. Okay. Bye, Sherry.
Bye-bye. Bye, Karen. I know. Bye.
This has been Karen Kalmasian
and Sherry Richards.
Thank you for joining us on our collective today and Inspired Good Fat Life. Please join us on Facebook at Inspired Good Fat Life. Be well. Until next time.